any innovation technology that's aligned with our technology strategy is very much in the scope of our funding program. So, for example,
Right.
in the projects that we've announced, I mean, we have projects that are developing cryogenic valves. We
Ah,
have hydrogen propulsion.
right.
We have artificial intelligence that's being used in some of the aerospace applications.
Right.
And for example, and also we've got fuel cell radiator systems. So
Hello everyone, and welcome to Advanced Engineering Talks, a podcast created by the Advanced Engineering team. A-Talks brings together some of the newest and most innovative minds in engineering and manufacturing to help better the future for our industry. We hope you enjoy the series.
Hello and welcome everybody. Jeremy Whittingham here again, interviewing on behalf of Advanced Engineering and the Advanced Engineering Talks podcast, where innovation never sleeps. My guest today is, delighted to welcome Romina Davoudi, who is Head of Programme Delivery at ATI, the Aerospace Technology Institute. Now, of course, the ATI, as many of you will know, creates the technology strategy for the UK aerospace sector and funds world-class research and innovation and development to create really innovative products and services. And we know how some of our UK research centres and small companies, SMEs, are doing some great world-class innovation. We're very strong at that here in the UK. Romina, let me pass over to you to go ahead and tell us about the ATI's main background and challenges and aims and objectives.
yeah, thanks very much, Jeremy, and
Welcome, by the way.
thank you, and thank you for inviting me. So yes, as you said, ATI's role is to set up the technology strategy for the UK aerospace, and in order for us to achieve the objectives of our technology strategy, we set up our funding programs. So our largest funding program is the strategic program that was established nearly 11 years ago now, basically from the point that ATI itself was established as an organization. So since the inception of the ATI and also establishing our funding program, we have basically facilitated and funded over 3.2 billion pound of investment in the aerospace
Wow.
sector. So yeah, large numbers. So that includes industry match funding as well, which obviously enhances and also contributes to strengthening that investment from the UK government as well.
So obviously that's when the industry sort of matches the same amount as the ATI funding. Is that correct for a
It's
small
so it's
company?
the funding ratio that we have for the strategic program is 60-40. So it's basically 60% ATI and 40% fund industrial organisations.
Right.
So yeah, there is a funding ratio, but still, I mean, in terms of the level of government funding and the commitment from government to R&D in aerospace has been huge over the past
Yeah.
10-11 years.
Yeah.
So a couple of years ago, we also launched 2 new funding programs. So the first one is the SME program, which is targeted for SMEs in the UK, and the purpose of it is to basically allow innovation from SMEs to become tangible products and to be used for commercialization, and basically to allow innovation to become a product that can end up on an aeroplane, basically, to put it simply.
Yeah.
So that program has been very successful. It's been running for 2 years now, and we in the past a month or so we've announced a series of projects that have been funded through the SME program. So they've come onto contract. So it's a really varied set of projects, and it's something that we feel very proud of, the diversity of the technologies that we
Right.
funded.
Right. That's interesting, because I was going to ask, are there certain types of innovation that you see coming through or support more than others? Probably not by the sounds of it, but it's usually across some form of design, validation, testing, technology, for instance, or new materials. Are those typical kind of, background areas?
Yes, they are included in there. So, but what I would say is that any innovation technology that's aligned with our technology strategy is very much in the scope of our funding program. So, for example, in the projects that we've announced, I mean, we have projects that are developing cryogenic valves. We have hydrogen propulsion. We have artificial intelligence that's being used in some of the aerospace applications. And for example, and also we've got fuel cell radiator systems. So it's a very wide ranging cohort of projects that were announced a few weeks ago. And the first 2 years of the program, we basically funded just over £20 million of funding to SMEs. So which is a great sort of commitment, not only from the government but from the ATI as well, because we do support not only through the SME program but also through the strategic program. We have supported SMEs in the UK because we recognize the agility of the SMEs, because they can turn innovative ideas into tangible products very quickly. So that's one of the reasons that we are very keen to support and continue supporting SMEs.
And are some of the organizations that you work with as well, because I hear there's a lot, for instance, there's a lot of overlap between sectors like motorsport and aerospace and perhaps other sectors, I'm sure. Are you finding, is that something you get involved in, things from other sectors, or maybe things that you fund that also might end up in other sectors as well as aerospace? There's perhaps a lot of crossover, is there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for example, some of the projects that we fund, let's say, in propulsion technologies, they are very applicable to defense sector. So,
yes, of course.
So it is something that we are very conscious of. We see it in our applications, funding applications that we receive, and it's something that we encourage for applicants to explore dual funding opportunities, so that we create that interlinkage between defense and, for example, civil aerospace. So it's a route that we are actively investigating and looking into to see how we can create and make that connection a bit stronger than it is now. Our third funding program is the non-CO2 funding program. Again, that was launched last year. So non-CO2 in itself is not a new research area, but it's a new funding area in the UK, particularly in industrial research. So early last year, we launched this program in partnership with Department for Transport and Natural Environment Research Council, in addition to DBT and Innovate UK. So basically, NERC, or obviously a research council as part of UKRI, they fund the fundamental research element of the program, and we fund the industrial research. So the reason that we've done a two-part program is, again, to create that follow-through from fundamental research to industrial research, which particularly in the context of the non-CO2 program is really important. So that's our third funding program, and we have announced a couple of projects again recently. So we are basically working closely with NERC and DFT on that program as well.
Right. Okay, interesting. So you do probably quite a lot, especially in the early stage basic research, early TRLs, and so on, with universities as well. Do you get involved with them quite a bit, research centres there?
So that the fundamental research, early TRL research is basically funded by NERC. So that's the scope of the funding that NERC offer.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said, okay.
And we typically, as all of the ATI funding programs, we typically fund TRL 3 to 6.
Right. Okay. Yes, I suppose that makes sense. Yeah. And then that starts to, because it basically kind of the TRLs go up to about 9, don't they? Is that right? Until
They do, yes.
commercialization. But that's that key part, I suppose, that where you are funding to get it ready to get whatever the innovation is ready to
For commercialization.
commercialize. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Okay, interesting. Yeah. And are there any sort of recent cases? You've probably touched on one or two there, actually, just in general. But have you got? Well, you are, of course, you have some time talking with Advanced Engineering on the show floor in October, on October the 29th, stroke 30th. I think we've got something for you on the 29th on day one. Will you be sort of providing some case studies of typical organizations you've been funding and some of the technologies and innovations there?
Yes, absolutely. I will be
Great.
providing some of the examples of the projects that we funded, not only in the SME program, but also the strategic program, and basically some useful stats in terms of the size of the organizations we fund. And but one thing that we basically want to be really get out to our stakeholders and potential applicants is that our funding programs, they are open to any UK registered organisation, and if the project aligns with the ATI technology strategy, then we welcome applications from any size organisation, because sometimes
Right.
there can be a perception that we only fund ATI large organisations, but I just want to highlight that we definitely welcome applications from all types of organisations.
Yeah, that's great. So you can literally go down to the one individual who's sort of potentially doing something in their shed, even, if it meets those criteria, though. But I guess you probably get a lot of TTOs and startups and SMEs, all those kind of different levels of company as well.
Yes, absolutely. I mean,
Right.
for example, in our SME program, most of the organizations that have been funded or have applied to the program, they are actually micro organizations. They are not even medium sized. So yeah, that's been quite interesting for us to see.
Yeah. And again, the UK is really strong with a lot of those sort of companies and innovation. It's great to see that you're there encouraging that, there to help that commercialize and scale up. Okay. Well, that's really interesting. So and you've got technologies in, I think you said hydrogen and other sort of I guess that's fuels and propulsion systems, which is zero carbon. And do you even touch on like infrastructure? Because I know a lot of people sort of talk about, let's say, okay, the hydrogen could be the way forward. You've got SAF at the moment, which is a bit more drop-in. Hydrogen for perhaps the larger everyday civil aircraft is going to be further down the line, and depends on things like storage and infrastructure. And so you'd also potentially get involved in anything to do with that as well. Around
absolutely.
that.
Yeah. So over the life of the ATI program, we have funded several capital infrastructure projects, and as capital projects, sort of the way they're established, it's about the infrastructure, it's about the equipment, it's about the capability, and also the strategic fit for the UK. So, for example, if it's composite manufacturing or any additive manufacturing, or, for example, AMRC is a very good example of some of the capital infrastructure projects that we funded. I mean, there are obviously some rules and regulations around it, as you would expect. But generally, particularly for academic organizations who can lead on capital projects, they can also ask for up to 100% funding, but obviously we do ask for strong justification for that. But it's a really positive feedback that we get from our applicants that academic organizations can actually lead on capital infrastructure projects.
Right. And I don't know if this is I guess there's a lot of opinion on this. There's a sort of debate between, SAF and hydrogen and how they're going to be used going forward. And then you've got people like Zero Avia who are like sort of doing a hybrid, I guess, with hydrogen and hydrogen electric with the fuel cells. But they seem to be doing very well, actually, don't they, in terms of their technology. Where do you, or does the ATI or you have any, particular thoughts on what's going to sort of, I don't know, in 10, 20 years, going to be some of the main kind of propulsion and fuel systems that are going to be used? Or will it depend presumably on the aircraft, maybe for short versus longer haul? And, because I think, was it the Fly Zero feedback actually did say, didn't it, for some of the larger aircraft burning hydrogen? So is that potentially still being looked at? And do you foresee that could be the case?
Yeah, I mean, from our perspective, our position is that, any technology, whether it's hydrogen or propulsion or manufacturing or whatever it is, as long as it's covered and it aligns with our technology strategy, then we don't really exclude anything, because
of course,
in my opinion, I mean, at this moment in time, any development in relation to technology to get to that net zero point is relevant. So in a sense, we really haven't changed our position. We have funded hydrogen projects and we've funded them within the SME program as well. I mean, one area that's really interesting, and it would be interesting to see how it sort of plays out in the coming years, let's say in the next 5 years, is how AI is used in aerospace applications and technology development. So, for example, in areas such as design, operations, and so it would be interesting to see how that evolves in the next 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely. I can imagine that, actually. Yeah. And do you think AI may also find its way, well, it probably is there to a certain extent, but it find its way into the cockpit and the systems and the sort of, flying of the aircraft, more autonomously as well? Of course, that's something that needs to be also psychologically accepted by the public, I imagine. At some, that's a gradual thing if it happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's we all know that rules and regulations around aerospace, and they are quite strict. So I can imagine that AI will have a part in that, but again, at the same time, I appreciate that there will be sort of strong scrutiny on how that can happen.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's really interesting, and I thought we'd sort of end with a quick question about your background, Romina, actually, and just how you got into engineering. We know there's a skills gap and so on, and I think some of the stuff that you've been doing and especially what you're doing at the moment is a great, interesting role model for a lot of young people who might be looking at engineering in some shape or form. So what inspired you, I guess, is my question there. Was that inspiration from quite an early age?
So yes, I would say so. I mean, my career actually started in science and engineering, and my studies is in social sciences. But when I started my career early on, again in science and engineering, I was really fascinated by the level of innovation, the challenges and the work that's going on in the world of academics, and I gradually moved into aerospace when I was in University of Nottingham.
Right.
And for me, being at the ATI and being at the heart of a very large program where we fund technologies is basically it's really nice to see how things can happen and end up as a tangible product on an aircraft, and things are not just theoretical or or research, and it really I really like to see that follow through from research to a product that you can see on a plane.
Yeah, no, I imagine there's a huge amount of satisfaction and very rewarding in that.
Yeah.
I imagine in some cases it takes a little while in the aerospace industry, does it? But then maybe it depends. I don't know, but it depends what the product is, maybe, or the technology, I guess. But
it does, and even if and you're absolutely right. Aerospace, for a product to actually end up on an aircraft, I mean, it does take time, but
Sure.
some of the improvements that we see through our funded programs, the gradual improvements, that's really, again, exciting to see. So yes, obviously the end product is fantastic, but the incremental improvements is as equally important.
Yes, of course. Interesting. Yes, fascinating. In fact, well, thanks, Romina. I mean, I was going to ask actually if any of our audience, anybody watching or listening to this, is interested in getting in touch, with potential ideas and innovations. What's the best way? Is it to go onto the ATI website and, I mean, how do they tend to come through? Or do you also, I guess you probably approach people as well, but probably people approach you a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, as I said earlier, I mean, we are very open to welcoming new applicants and funding applications to the ATI program. So I'd encourage any organizations who have technology development ideas that align with our technology strategy to get in touch with us. The best way to do that is to go on our website. So the ATI Hub offers weekly technology clinics. So if you have a project idea, but you are not sure if it's aligned with our technology strategy, or you just want to have a chat with one of our technologists, then you can book a tech clinic and have a bit of a discussion, and then sort of decide whether you want to apply to the program or not.
Great. And of course, another way to do it is pop along to Advanced Engineering, 29th of October at the NEC. 29th and 30th of October. And as I say, you've got a nice session that you'll be doing in the Aerospace Space Defence Forum with some SME technologies, case studies and so on. So really looking forward to that. And obviously anybody can come and have a chat with you during then.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which we'd welcome. Well, I think we've more or less come to the end of our time. Really fascinating chat, though. Thank you so much, Romina. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, and we'll keep in touch, obviously, up to the show, because we need to talk about what you're talking about on the show floor. And anyone who's listening, our audience, thank you for listening. Feel free to visit www.advancedengineeringuk.com. You can register for free to attend and have a look at some of these podcasts in the series as well, including this one, of course, which I guess you'll be looking at. Thanks ever so much, everybody, and see you soon. Talk to you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.